Hello, this is Minder Chen. I'm Professor of Management Information Systems at Smith School of Business Economics at CSU Channel Island. In this lecture, we're going to focus on value and stakeholder analysis in the context of develop an organization's vision and mission statement. Let's first review the strategic planning model that we introduced last time. And we talk about that the strategic planning process start with defining your vision and then develop your mission statement, and eventually you would formulate your business strategy in achieving your mission and mission. And in order to implement your strategy, you will come up with strategic initiative and try to develop or setting goal to measure whether you're successful in implementing those initiatives. Performance, the actual measurements measure against the goal defined here. However, last time we didn't give any example of organizational value. For example, of vision statement and mission statement, please refer to the textbook and go search online of some company that you like and find out whether you can find their vision and mission statement, and find out whether you like their vision and mission statement. You're also encouraged to actually try to find out what's the vision or mission statement of CSU Channel Island. And I added in this model a block, an element here called stakeholders' interest and influence. The arrow implies that a stakeholder's interest and influence may affect how you formulate your vision, mission, and strategy. Just briefly, the definition for stakeholder. Stakeholder is any individual or organizational unit, internal, externally, who may influence your business and your business decision. That's why we need to kind of keep them in mind when we try to develop our vision, mission, and strategy. But let's start, I'll just give a few examples of organizational values, sometimes referred to as core value or principle or belief of an organization. This is, for Starbucks, they have 6 guiding principles. They use those principles to measure the appropriateness of their decision. That's where the value come into play. And without reading the whole thing, I highlight a few keywords. Basically, they try to provide working environment. People respect each other, and people work there will have their dignity. In the working environment, they also embrace diversity. And so this is about the internal organization. It's all related to the working environment relationship. The third one is really related to their products. So it's excellent. They have applied a high standard of excellence in terms of how they purchasing, roasting, and delivery of coffee. And the next one is focusing on more externally on customer, make sure customer satisfied, and even broader external factors such as the community and the environment they operate. But at the end, they actually point out pointedly, actually, that they need to recognize that profitability is essential to our success. So from internal kind of work environment for the employee to their product to the external environment, and eventually referring to profitability. So this 6 guiding principle laid out quite nicely. but it's not clear which principle may be more important than the other. And certainly we can argue profitability is important, but a good, respectful working environment may be the key to their success. So the first principle here maybe has the principle listed earlier may be more important than the one listed later. Google certainly is a technical firm. Their core value to include 10 things. You can find it on their website. They call it, that's their philosophy. And it's their core values. And it kind of reflects the business they're in and who they are and how they operate and how they try to form or foster their organizational cultures. And focus on user, just like Starbucks focus on customer satisfaction. And they try to be best do one thing really, really well. For Google, at least at the beginning, it's their search engines. And fast is better than now. In the high-tech industry, rolling out something quicker sometimes is give you the first mover advantage. They do believe in democracy on the web. And they believe that you can have access to Google search engine anywhere you go. So kind of hinted the mobile computing situation. And this is kind of interesting. We don't make money without doing evil, which means they can make money without doing evil. And this is kind of their ethical standard in the broadest sense. There's always more information out there, which means they always try to search and grab information and provide that to us. And the need for information across all borders. So they certainly has the global ambitions. And you can be serious without a suit, which means they probably has a very casual working environment. And number 10 is great, just isn't good enough, which means they try to inspire people to do great things. Zappos, I don't know whether some of you have heard about Zappos. If you haven't, please go to zappos.com and take a look. And Zappos Insight also has quite a bit of information about Zappos' unique organizational culture. And this is Zappos' core value. It's also 10 of them. Just quickly, I'm going to read it out loud a little bit for you. Delivered wow through service. Zappos is known for service. They're powered by service. That's their slogan. Embrace and drive change and create fun and little weirdness. If you ever go to Las Vegas, you can contact Zappos. They will actually have someone come and pick you up in front of your hotel and give you a 30 minutes tour of the company. You would actually understand what this means when they say create fun and little weirdness. Number 4, be adventurous, creative, and open-minded. Number 5, pursue growth and learning. Number 6, be open and honest relationship with communication. This includes in both internal and external communication. Number 7, build a positive team and family spirit. I know they have kind of a family days, and so all the family are invited to participate in this corporate event. Do more with less, which means try to save money if all possible. Be passionate and determined. You do need to be passionate to be in the kind of service industry. Although this is an online retailer, they started with shoes, but now they're selling some other accessory as well. The people they hire need to be passionate about other people. And the last one is really unique. Very interesting in this so-called be humble. And this is kind of one picture I got from their website listed here. It's we before me. I want you to think about a little bit more because in the Western society, we tend to emphasize individual achievement. Humble doesn't seem to be something that we promote that much. So I want you to think about this issue and also go to Zappos website and see what you can find out how they discuss this issue regarding be humble. Next few slides, we're going to use Salesforce unique methodology regarding develop vision, missions, and building their company from grounds up. And this case or example also showed that how each company can customize the framework we have introduced. In this case, Salesforce has a methodology called V2MOM, V2MOM, I think if you want to call it. V2 just means double V, vision and value. So we do have value, we have mission, but we don't have vision, but we don't have mission. Mission is not included. And vision defined as what do you want, value is what's important about it for your organization. And the next three items is really try to implement the visions. So the method, roughly speaking, corresponding to what we call strategy. How do you get there? What's your strategy for getting there? That's what they call methods. They're roughly speaking, they're equivalent. Okay, not totally identical. But method is much more concrete. Strategy, we will talk about strategy. Strategy sometimes can be very fuzzy and high level. And they also list something called obstacle, which is what might stand in the way for you to get there. And this is relatively unique in, we cannot find this in our model that we proposed earlier. The measure is how would you know when you have it. And so measure is very similar to goals that we use in our model. So this once again showed an example. An organization can have their own vision, mission, strategy, development methodology, and sometimes they may use even different terminology to describe similar concept, and that's totally fine. And so when you work for an organization, you need to find out what do they have a set of terminology based on their own methodology to describe what we try to cover here. Okay, this is once again the more detailed definition of vision, values, method, obstacle, and measures. I want you to maybe pause the video and kind of read the slide a little bit to be familiar with the underlying concept. For instance, I believe point out the obstacle is really important. So we can, once you identify the obstacle, the difficulty you may face in reaching your vision or goals, then you can figure out a way to deal with it. So the obstacle include the challenge you may have, the problem you may face, or sometimes in very generic sense, all the issue you have to deal with. And you have to overcome them in order to achieve your visions. The measures are the actual result that we aim to achieve. So this is really goals. And eventually you do need to measure it. You need to measure your performance against the goal. When Salesforce first developed the V2 MOM based on the methodology in 1999, by the way, I forgot to explain what Salesforce is. If you're not familiar with it, Salesforce is actually a software company. They offer the software totally online. You're not buying a package, you're subscribed. They use a subscription model. They will host the service. And originally, this is meant to support their sales force, the salespeople running around to track their sales order, their customers' information, etc. They have been very, very successful. They are considered a pioneer in software as a service area, and also they're now using the term called cloud computing at the application level. So as you can tell, they can basically put their vision, values, methods, obstacles, and measures in just one piece of paper. Okay. Very concise. Everybody can remember it, hopefully. And unlike some organizations, even their mission statement can be too long for anybody to recite it. Okay. So I kind of blow up each of the segment. Here's the vision. Rapidly creating a world-class internet company or site for Salesforce automation. Remember, this is their vision in 1999. And the value they have is world-class organization, time to market regarding to their product. The product need to be functional. The product need to be to have usability, which means easy to use, like Amazon's website. And then they also want to have value-added partner. Okay, so this 2 to 4 more or less related to their products. This is to their internal organization. This is how they work with other people. The methods to get there. They need to hire the team. They need to finalize the product specification and technical architecture. They don't have a product yet at the time when they define this. Rapidly develop the product specification to beta and production stage. Build partnership with big e-commerce content and hosting company. Build a launch plan and develop exit strategy, which could be either IPO or acquisition. The obstacle is getting really good developer, hiring and retaining good developers, also hiring and retaining excellent product manager and business development person. And the measures try to make sure the prototype state of the art and have a high quality functional system. The partnership are online and integrated, and the Salesforce.com is regarded as a leader and visionary. And frankly speaking, at this point, many years later, they pretty much achieved this goal. We are all rich. Definitely some of the early, the founder and the employee they hire earlier probably are all millionaire, if not billionaire by now. And this is relatively unique. What you're seeing here are the evolution of the vision statements from Salesforce over time. It looks like every 3 years they revise their mission statement. vision statement. The vision statement usually is more long term, it's more future oriented. In my humble opinion, I think Salesforce tends to define the vision statement a little bit shorter term by comparison. There's nothing wrong, and that's why they revised the vision statement pretty much every 3 years or so. I highlight a few key words in different versions of their vision statement. I'll let you kind of study a little bit, and you kind of need to know what Salesforce as a company and their product is all about to understand certain more technical term they use here, like Service Cloud. Force.com is another product they have. And however, like in 2004's version, they want to have a flawless execution of our proven model. I believe they got into some trouble in terms of the performance of their platform. That's why they emphasize flawless execution of their proven model. Next, we're going to talk about stakeholders, stakeholder analysis. And our learning objective is to incorporate stakeholders' interest into mission and vision. When we develop vision and mission statement, we need to take stakeholders' interest into consideration. So what are or is stakeholder? Stakeholders are any individual or groups who can affect or is affected by the achievement of organization's purpose. Or sometimes they are affected by the decisions or action of an organization. And basically, those are the people who have an interest in your organization and in certain way, which can be customers, employees, supplier, regulator, government agency, activists, and shareholders. So like employee is internal, customer external, and etc. Okay. I want you to think about and maybe come up with a list of all the stakeholders for CI for Channel Island for our school. And by the way, don't confuse stakeholder with shareholder or stockholder. Stockholder means you're holding the stock of a public firm. That's certainly that qualify you to be a stakeholder, but stockholder and stakeholder are two different things. And we can classify stakeholder into three categories. One is internal, like employee, manager, and the other is connected stakeholder, which means people you work with to run your business, like your supplier, distributors, your shareholders, we mentioned, customer, supplier, the financial industry that support you, like a banker, retailer who sell your product. And they are external, but here when we say the third category, external stakeholder, they are much broader and kind of higher level. They are related to you, but not directly connected to you, which can be government, the news outlet, media outlet, interest group, pressure group, local community, professional body like American Marketing Association, etc., and the society. So where does stakeholder has anything to do with mission and vision. To be successful, an organization need to meet the needs of its stakeholders who are influenced by the organization to ensure the demands for goods and service. And so the stakeholder has certain needs which may be related to our goods or service and sometimes beyond our goods and services. We want to make sure that we meet the needs. But sometimes their needs may be like environmental standard by some environmental group or by government agency. We need to comply to or sometimes neutralize the demand from such stakeholders that has influence over our organization. So think about what does this mean for CI. Okay. For instance, we believe the student need to like CI enough to keep coming. Employee needs to like to work at CI to stay here. And we need to keep academic accreditation by various accreditation body. Also, state government need to appreciate California State University as a system such that to provide us sufficient funding to keep us running. Once we identify the stakeholders, we will come up with a stakeholders list. With that list, then we need to determine for each of the stakeholder on the list and determine that they impact our decision or strategies on those stakeholders, and also to determine how powerful or influential those stakeholders are to us. So one, it's like how we may affect, if we're here, how we may affect the stakeholder regarding our decision strategy, and the other is how much influence they have upon us such that it will influence us in our decision-making and strategic formulation process. And once we have the information, we can develop the so-called stakeholder map or matrix. So let's look at example of stakeholder matrix or map. This is actually a very detailed one. We have a list of stakeholders. We would identify their contribution, legitimacy in terms of whether they have influence or whether they actually will be affected. In this case, they will be affected by the company's activities, strategies, and missions. And also, we need to figure out how willingness, how much they're willing to kind of engage with us and work with us, and how much they may have influence over us. And most importantly, at the end, is we need to decide it based on the information of the first this 4 column. We need to decide it how we want to kind of engage. Just because they're willing to engage doesn't mean that we really want to fully engage them. Sometimes people may not have a lot of influence over us. Their interests, although may be high, but it's really not. It may be against our interests, so we need to deal with them. But we may not want to fully get them involved. Nothing against environmentalists, but they can actually they want to involve, but you may want to just keep them in arm's length so they don't interfere too much, but you do need to listen to them. So the necessity of involvement. This stakeholder map, on the vertical axis is the influence and the power of the stakeholder. The horizontal axis is the interest of the stakeholders. This means high influence, low influence, low interest, and high interest. So then we have this 2x2 matrix. If they have high influence, they have high interest, they are the key player. And for the key player, we need to get them involved in the decision-making process. We want to engage and consult them. In other three situations, sometimes we would, if they do have influence, but they don't have a lot of interest, then we do try to meet their needs. And if they have a lot of interest and want to get involved, we'll show we're willingness to consider their interest, but they don't have real influence and power over us. So it's not as important as the key player. And at this quadrant, that's the least important one. You may just inform them your decision without through some communication channel. Okay, that's it about values, about a case by Salesforce in terms of how they create their vision and how they try to implement it. And also we talk about stakeholder analysis regarding how they may influence our mission and mission statement, or down the road influence our strategic development process. That's it. Thank you. Bye-bye.